Why do you think one would chase cars? Welcome to Shuffling Notes, and I'm your co-host for this episode, Razi.
I'm your co-host Prankit.
And we will be discussing Open Eyes by Snow Patrol, which was released in 2006, I think.
I believe so.
And it had the biggest hit uh, of of its time, and even now for the people who are then was Chasing Cars, and that's just a song which has kind of always given the chills to people. I don't know how were you introduced to Snow Patrol for that?
Yeah, I pretty much the same way. So Chasing Cars was my introduction to them, and it's interesting. I think going in this album, it's a bit like how I did the
Mhm.
Coldplay one, going in cold. With this as well, I'd heard some of these songs before that were on the album, not necessarily knowing they belong in the
Yeah.
same album. But I've never really been an avid listener of Snow Patrol for not for any particular reason. I guess I never really got into it at that time. But I remember Chasing Cars was sort of everywhere, and I used to love that as well. I mean, even until recently, it's been a really nice sort of driving song, if anything. When you're driving through and you just the music and that crescendo, and we'll get into it when we do the track by track. Uh, but yeah, that was really my introduction. So this is really the first time that actually listening to the band, and I've heard sort of a whole album, sort of back to back, so to speak.
I mean, it was the first time listening to the whole album for me as well. I mean, most of the songs from the album I had heard before, but there were songs which were new in the kind of perception that I have now, or when I listened to them back then. But yeah, but as for the band, they formed in 1994, and these were just some students of University of Dundee, and they called the band Shrug at the time, and then that Shrug came on to being called Polar Bear, and then they finally found out that there's another band.
I could see the influences.
Then there's a
Ah, I see.
band
Yeah.
which called themselves the Polar Bear at the time, and then they changed to Snow Patrol, and then in 1997 they changed to Snow Patrol, and they've been Snow Patrol since. Their first EP was it's
Yeah.
a very weird name
Yeah.
for EP. It's called the Yogurt versus Yogurt Debate. Where
Oh, I've heard of that.
I guess
Yeah.
we'll do it one of the times.
At some
Yeah.
point. Yeah. Do you know, was there a specific reason they wanted to like stick to this like winter theme in terms of like going from polar bear to patrol
That was
or?
something I mean I didn't find out just by accident. I actually wanted to know
Yeah.
if there's
Yeah.
a reason for that, and the reason was as clear as it is in their songs, which is it's a cold song that you're listening to, right? It's mostly about the cold side of a relationship, of
Oh,
right.
I see
So
what you're getting at. Yeah.
I mean, we will explore that in this album itself, but that's the
Yeah. That
reason.
does put the album more in
Yeah,
context.
so
Yeah.
that's the reason it's Snow Patrol's um, album, which has this kind of you know
Yeah.
not lonely, but this cold
Mm.
feeling, even if you're with someone, I guess.
Mm.
So yeah, and the band has uh, Gary Lightbody for the vocals, guitar, and piano. Johnny Quinn for drums, Nathan Connolly guitar, Paul Wilson
Mm-hmm.
bass, and
Mm-hmm.
Johnny McCade the keyboards and guitar. But it's
Excellent.
Gary
Yeah.
Lightbody who has written much of the lyrics for this album at least. And yeah, and I guess if you've got something to add uh, before we start.
Yeah. Look. So yeah, I mean, I think there was this one piece of info that I read. That I think it was Gary who said it, and I thought it was interesting because he was talking about the album, and what he said was like I think describing the record. The way he described it was like rather than like a breakup
Mm,
record, it's a makeup
yeah.
record, which I thought was interesting. Right, because we've had a lot of breakup albums. So this is like the way he was putting it. It's more of like a lot of the songs are more sort of like a makeup
True.
album. But I think going back to that winter analogy and cold part of the relationship, I think in that same sort of interview or that same sort of sentence, he did. I can't remember what it was exactly he said, but it was to do with, again, it is a makeup record, but it's not overly positive because it's still about certain, I guess, destructive parts of that sort of need, that needing, that codependence almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we go, I think track by track, it becomes a bit evident, a bit more evident.
True. I mean, there's a clear theme that we can sort of conclude at the end of
Yeah.
it. So, okay, let's
Mm-hmm.
dive into the tracks and begin with You're All I Have, their first song, which is uh, something like you're like giving up on a person, but then you realize it's a lot of the songs are a lot of realizations, and even this song is a
Yeah.
realization, which is, I mean, it's also good. Like in Gary Lightbody's voice, it's kind of a standout voice if you
Mm-hmm.
notice. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just something that comes out of the music, and it's the music is also talking to
Mm-hmm.
you while he's also kind of expressing his story. But yeah, what's
Yeah.
your thought on this?
Yeah, no, no, exactly that. I think it's a to what you were saying. It very much almost sounds like when you mess up in a relationship and then you sort of realize like, no, actually, this is all I have. But in terms of the music itself, because I'm not sure if I'd heard this before or not, but hearing it now at least, I definitely sort of it's got that like 2000s vibe to it,
Yeah.
musically, like the guitar, the drums, and it's the overall sound. But it is very catchy, and a lot of their songs are very catchy. The hooks are sort of very catchy, but it's got that that 2000s feeling to it,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. I kind of almost felt like nostalgic there listening to it, even though I like I said, I hadn't necessarily. I don't think I had heard this song before or remembered hearing it. But it still just almost transported me back to that to the 2000s time. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of positive vibing music. It's just talking about the music, and then I guess lyrically, yeah, it is that being, I guess, realizing and then trying to be sort of vulnerable. Accepting the fact that you need that other person in your life. So yeah, a great love song, I'd say.
I mean, if it's a love song, it's like I mean, a lot. Well, it's like a lot of the songs are just soliloquy, like they're
Mm-hmm.
talking to themselves and
Mm-hmm.
just realizing themselves that this is what it is, and this is I
Mm-hmm.
don't like it this
Yeah.
way, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I've got some like very small
Yeah.
nuances noted down, which is like I really like the style of voice
Mm-hmm.
that has this confidence when he
Yeah.
says that you're all I have. When like in those choruses when he says you're all that I have, that's that
Yeah.
tone in his voice is very confident. And there's there's a low volume synth in the end of the song, which I think it's in
Mm-hmm.
the last 30
Yeah. Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah.
It just kind of
Like
drives,
the
yeah, it just kind
outro.
of drives you away into a different zone. And, that it just
Yeah.
felt like a good addition, an additional element to the song. But it did
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
it had its own standing by the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then we can go to Hands Open, and it's like Hands Open is basically him kind of, when you plead in front of God, basically. It's you've gone with your
Mm-hmm.
hands open, like you're asking for
Yeah.
something. And over here, obviously, he's asking for love from one person, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just, I mean, again, all of these are like twisted versions of what twisted versions of more love songs, I would say, like, which are quite direct. These
Yeah.
aren't. These are very indirect love songs.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, like it's a good love
Mm-hmm.
song. You're all I have. Them. So that's like, I mean,
Yeah.
these are good love songs, but they're twisted in a way
Yeah.
because he's. I mean, he loves
Yeah.
the person, but he's just there, uh,
Yeah.
begging, pleading, praying, probably.
Yeah. Also, this song has the it also has the I guess the album title in it, right? Eyes Open,
Yeah,
right?
it seems like this
Yeah.
song seems like the theme for the album.
Yeah, I think essentially the lyrics, and I guess it's just starts off like the just the opening, right? It's hard to argue when you won't stop making sense, but my tongue still misbehaves and keeps digging my own grave. And it's very much like the I guess the song sort of feels like you're working through a difficult relationship dynamic almost. Uh, I don't think it necessarily is like putting the blame one way or the other, but just the fact that like you're wanting to put in the effort to like fix things. There's a line I really like. It said like it's not as easy as willing it all to be right. Like you can't just be like, well, this relationship's not working, and
That's
you
the
have
bridge
to
of the
put in
song,
the
yeah.
effort. You have to work it through. Yeah. So it's sort of I think it carries on from the first track thematically, but this I feel like it's more sort of you realize that you got a long road ahead of you to work things out, but you're willing to sort of put in the effort because that's how much the other person sort of means to you. And I guess it goes to your point of like not really being like a direct love
Yeah.
song, but like about about the relationship.
About how much it
Almost
means,
like when
yeah.
the relationship like starts aging. Yeah.
True. And so musically, there's this part where, like, he sings with my hands open, as the harmony, while he sings these different verses, like he
Hmm.
sings verse by verse. And
Yeah.
in, like,
Yeah.
there's the backing vocals kind of, which goes with my hands open, with my
Yeah. Like
hands
in the
open,
background, he's
and
singing.
that's
Yeah.
on repeat, like with my hands open, with my hands open. And then that's like,
Yeah.
him sort of pleading for every verse that, I this is what I
Hmm.
expect, and I'm expecting this, or I'm asking for this with my hands open.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. There's like a
it was,
desperation to
I
it
mean, that
almost.
that felt like a good exaggeration with the music that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, again, it did seem like the theme for the album. This song, like when you're listening to it, and you're listening, and you're listening to eyes open, and I mean hands open kind of just makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I think the first two tracks really sort of set the tone for the album thematically.
Probably.
I know musically, as we'll get in, some of the tracks can be quite
Hmm.
unique, but I think in terms of the theme, it really just sets up this sort of this is what this album's going to be about, essentially.
Yeah, true, true. I mean, the first two songs are actually quite similar in their tone or their pace of singing.
Mm-hmm.
um and
Mm-hmm.
talking about a a different song, it's the next song,
Let's
which is the
waste
song
time
Chasing Cars. So the
chasing
first the first point that
cars.
I've written, and then I would want you to first have your thoughts on it. The
Mm-hmm.
first point I've written is the music video. So this released in 2006, 2007, and there was a music video around that time. And it
Mm-hmm.
so they have two different versions of the music video. So one of the first ones is the one I'm talking about, and that's like there's rain, and he's lying down in this completely empty kind of forest, and he's lying down and
Mm-hmm.
there's rain falling, and then the very, very good artistic visual choices in the music video. If you haven't seen it, I mean, I will share the link with you.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've seen that one.
But that music video, I mean, anytime I hear this song, I
Yeah.
just see the video in front of me,
Yeah.
and
You
you
visualize
just
it. Yeah.
it's he then there's this VFX kind of portion in the video where he turns around and he
Mm-hmm.
falls into this puddle, and then you've got the camera coming
Mm-hmm.
from like underwater, and you're seeing him coming down, and I mean it's a
Mm-hmm.
full feeling. The video is a feeling. But what do you think about? I mean, chasing cars, since you've known chasing cars.
I mean, it's yeah, it's one of the most sort of iconic songs, right? At least for me. But I think it's very interesting because it's like the whole song musically, it's like kind of just build up, like the music, the verses, and then even when it sort of breaks into the chorus, it's still like a build up. Like there's something coming, and the whole song goes like that. And I thought it's just very interesting, and I think it goes back almost like the first track. It's got that sort of uh, at least the sound itself's got this like positive vibe because it's that build up, build up, build up. And I think this is probably, I would say, going back to what you were also saying, I would say this is more of their like a love song as opposed to the other ones,
Mhm.
right?
More,
But
I
yeah, I
mean,
mean,
it's
it's
more not to the other person, but like more to yourself. Like it's
yeah,
it's good to listen probably in solitude. It's a good solitude song.
yeah, yeah. It's some like yeah, like introspection going on. And it's again, it's quite beautifully written. I think
Mhm.
it's got some really nice lines in there. Like those three
Those
words,
I
three
I
said too
said too
much.
much, they're not enough. So it's
I
like it's again,
said
that's why like this to me
too
feels more like that love
much.
song in terms of like professing your love for
Hmm.
someone. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I did read this one thing, and I suppose we sort of mentioned it earlier that chasing the car like a dog. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think the quote was something like, I think it was something like his father or someone used to tell him that like going after a girl is sort of like like a dog chasing
Oh,
a car, that you'll never catch it, or like if you or you just wouldn't know what to do with it if you did catch it, like it's sort of
I I I didn't know that. I mean,
yeah,
that's good. So I have this
yeah,
one fact from an article, which is so when Gary was asked why the song was so popular. So according to
mm,
him, it's an emotionally open song and it's a simple song, but it's also
yeah,
unabashedly a love song, and we don't really have any
mm-hmm,
others. The way it unifies an audience is the thing I most cherish about it. It's a beautiful moment every time you play it. So,
yeah,
and it was so
no,
this song was the second single of the band for
I
this
see.
album. I think there was another single
Album.
itself. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I remember this song when it came out. It was literally everywhere. I think this really put them on the map.
yeah,
And this is
definitely.
the song I associate the band with.
So
Yeah.
the song has been so before another song which is one of the latest songs. It's called Run. So that
Mm-hmm.
and this song is why it's because of the existence of Run is why they're not called one hit wonders. They do come in the list of one hit
Oh, I
wonders.
see what you mean.
I because
Yeah, yeah,
I
I
just saw in a
suppose.
few these kind of
Yeah,
third
yeah,
party posts or articles where
yeah,
they were like
yeah.
Snow Patrol was in their um, one hit wonders bands.
A one
Yeah,
hit wonder. Yeah, chasing cars being there like hit and then like them
yeah.
disappearing. I see.
So chasing cars, but then there's Run, which kind of
Yeah, yeah.
didn't make it one hit wonder.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeah, so chasing cars then gets us to shut your eyes. And I I don't know. For me, when I listen to Shut Your Eyes, every time I feel in perspective of the album, I feel this should have been the
Yeah.
first song. I don't know because
Interesting. Yeah.
there's a feeling to the song that I maybe would have given a different perspective or a different idea to the whole
Yeah.
album track list.
I see. Because like for me, I think I feel like it follows on quite well for me from Chasing Cars. Because like what you said in Chasing Cars, it's almost like that solitude,
Hmm.
right? That you get from listening to it. You get like transported to this like place almost. And I feel like Shut Your Eyes at a lot of levels, it's sort of just about that escapism, like escaping whatever issues you're having right now. Like even if it's momentarily, right? It's like shut your eyes, like finding that calm and peace. So for me, like in that sense, I it works quite well coming after Chasing Cars because in a sense that's what Chasing Cars does as a song,
Hmm.
even though that's not what the song is about. But this song is about that,
Hmm.
just being able to just close your eyes and just sort of escape everything that you're worried about and all your sort of problems and issues momentarily and finding that sort of
That's
peace.
what I did. I mean, I unexpectedly, I've heard this song before, but this time around, I just
Yeah,
unexpectedly attached myself to the song. And this
yeah.
imaginative land, which is like graves of dirt, close your eyes
You got a whole music video
until
working in there.
so
Yeah.
our secret space at will. So our secret space
Mhm.
at will. That's kind of my move. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just what it is. It's it's imaginative. It's thinking of this paradise. Um,
Yeah.
although, just a fun fact, paradise comes from a Persian word called paradis or something similar,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
means a walled garden.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So it's kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
getting into the philosophy. It's just a I mean,
Yeah.
it's not paradise if it's a walled garden, right? But
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
what paradise means actually.
Is
While
yeah.
in
Yeah.
English it means completely different.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. The meaning has
Yeah.
changed almost. Interesting. Also, like another thing just to mention in this, I think this is also where I feel like again, Chasing Cars being a bit sort of more unique musically from the first two tracks. This also has like a very interesting like rhythm and
Hmm.
melody, like both the music and the vocals. It's not like as simple I would say in a sense the first track is in terms of the rhythm and the melody, right? It's like you've got the chords repeating, you've got the drum, the drums. This one I think is very sort of different. It's not your expected rhythm and melody. Both like the background music and everything, but also like the way he's singing throughout. I just thought it's interesting. And towards the end as well, like there's that clapping with like the chorus part. I imagine that's probably pretty amazing live.
Even how it
I imagine
starts,
the audience joins
how
in
it
and
starts
stuff.
with the synth, like,
Yeah,
and then it like that's the
yeah,
beat of it, that click sound over and
yeah,
over, and it's
yeah,
I mean it's got you know I don't know, a
yeah,
groovy rhythm
yeah,
to it. Shut
yeah.
Your Eyes. It starts off with
Hmm.
it and carries it forward.
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah, so the next track is It's Beginning to Get Me, which for me started off with a 30 seconds to Mars kind of vibe.
yeah.
It's got that how 30 seconds to Mars has this what you said atmospheric,
The
yeah,
atmospheric
it's
sounds. Yeah,
atmospheric sounds, which so it starts off with that,
yeah.
and then um, it's a good play of lyrics as well later on as it gets. But what did you think about it?
Even in the outro, right? There's like towards the end, there's like these sound effects that like kick in, um,
I don't remember. Yeah.
right at the end. Yeah, yeah. Well, if you hear it again, it's I think it goes to that atmospheric sound thing. Um, but yeah, I mean, it is again. I really like it's very sort of again I would say beautifully written. Like just even just and it's beginning to get to me that I know more of the stars in sea than I do of what's in your head. And it's very sort of I feel like it's so appropriate in also a sense like today like we've got all the knowledge
Yeah,
on like on our
yeah,
fingertips on our phones. We can search anything, we can learn about anything except for how the other person's feeling. That like
true.
that is still a mystery. Like humans are still a mystery to humans. Everything else isn't in a sense. We're discovering and we're learning, and you can read and learn about it,
Yeah,
but it's still a mystery, and we still struggle to understand how the other person might be feeling. And we're always like trying to sort of gauge it. So I just find like again it's one of those things where the writing like stands out more, even though the song itself is sort of catchy and all of that.
it's like
The other thing I've also written is like it's a pre-breakup song is what I feel.
that it's beginning to get me.
It's
Yeah,
like before the
yeah.
breakup. Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, that's what
This is how
I've
it
written
starts.
a clever play of all that he's interested in and loves to do, but knows nothing about her.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
it's a play
yeah,
of those things. Like he's talking about space, he's talking about these
yeah,
abstract
yeah,
interests of his,
yeah.
and he knows nothing about her. And then he's realizing that as the lover is cold in bed when he says barely touching on cold bed.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
play of
yeah,
words in I think
yeah,
these are just like back to back lines, but they just go very well with the
yeah.
song. I mean, again, coming back to the theme of the band, which is cold, Snow
Yeah,
Patrol,
yeah.
and I guess that just makes sense.
You got some of that in here.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he kind of says barely touching on cold bed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so, you got anything to add to the song?
No, I mean, yeah, I think covered it. You covered it pretty well. It's. I think it's just this song is very much like that. Yeah, like fight after fight. It sort of goes back to that theme, like the second song. I think established a little bit.
Hmm.
While the chasing cars kind of goes more like love
Hmm.
song, but this kind of comes back to that struggle in a relationship
Yeah.
almost. And I think yeah, it's sort of very much on point with the rest of the songs.
Yep. So then we've got
You could be
"You Could Be Happy,"
happy, and
which
I don't
so this
know.
song I've been listening to this song for some many years now, and I don't know, I always had this feeling that this song's about uh, this infant kind of, because it starts off with those infant chimes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Like almost like I feel like a xylophone sort of intro, right? That like,
so
but yeah, it's like
but
the chimes, like the
Saturn,
yeah,
the planets, or something, the
yeah,
nightlight
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
chime. So
yeah,
with that, I always felt that it's about that. But I mean, then it just sort of had this blissful happiness
yeah,
when it started. So every time it on shuffle when it played, it just had this. Oh,
yeah,
let this be, like it's just gonna be. I mean,
yeah.
just
Well,
that
it's
part is so soothing to hear, because
yeah.
and then obviously they play
The
on.
music
Yeah.
itself, right? Like, yeah, I think this is probably one of my favorite songs by Snow Patrol, and this is one of the songs I had heard before, and I knew it was
Hmm.
them. So I was pleasantly surprised to find it on this album as I was going through it. But yeah, I think to what you were saying, like from that music, I guess you have that imagery of like an infant being there. But even the lyrics, regardless how you take it, I think at the end of the day, it's very much about like that unconditional love. Like the other, like you're almost happy that the other person is
Hmm.
happy, but like it's got that to it. But I've always sort of interpreted it as more as like a post breakup song of like wanting to get back together, but then like not knowing how to go about it in a sense, and sort of guessing what's happening with the other person.
So this song also kind of indulges into this imaginary state of things, which was in the last song as well, where he's talking about things he is interested in or things he thinks about, but
Yeah.
has no idea about her. So over here also, it kind of goes into this imagination,
Yeah.
which makes him realize
Yeah.
that, you know, with his eyes open, that
Yeah.
something, something, something else
Yeah.
is there, or something probably bigger, and that you could be happy. I hope you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that part's very sweet. Like
It's very beautifully written.
when
Yeah.
he brings, because the choruses are, I mean, it's just the same. You could be happy, and I'm forgetting the lyrics, but this one, I think towards the end, you could be happy. I hope you are. Yeah, happier than I've been by far. So
Yeah.
that's, I mean,
Yeah.
ending it on a very sweet note. Uh,
Yeah.
that's just I mean, that's some happiness that you find.
It is a very heartbreaking song as well, but yeah. Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but
It,
I guess that's my, at least for me, my blissful happiness kind of covers that part up. Why do you say it's like heartbreaking as a standout?
like heartbreaking as in for the guy, right? Like he's very much sort of tortured at this point. But it's
He's ready to give up.
that's why I go back. It's yeah,
Hmm.
but it's very that's why I go back. It's like to that like it's about that unconditional love at which point it almost doesn't even matter like if he gets back with her or not. It's about like yeah, hoping that she's happy.
Hmm. And I mean, it's genuine happiness that he's
Yeah.
seeking.
Like breakup songs often can be more like they can have more sort of anger in them and envy and like or this outright like desperation of wanting to get back together. This one is more sort of subtle. It's more about the love and about it's not necessarily screaming for like getting back together or hating the other person for breaking the heart. So I think it goes to that. It's a heartbreaking song for the guy, but the song itself is not necessarily. There's no like negative feelings in it as such,
Mhm.
right? It's a very positive
I mean,
post breakup
it
song almost.
has, it starts and ends on a positive note. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
got that graph of, I mean, it
yeah,
tells stories in between, but then ends on
yeah,
a different note completely.
yeah.
And yeah, then we've got Make This Go On Forever, which is wishful thinking. And it's, I mean, there's this part where
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the lines. Have you got the lines in front of you?
I don't have the lyrics open here. No.
So it's, I mean, there's this part where
You always ask me that, Razi, almost every video. Do you have the lyrics? I'm like,
I
no.
mean, you're just generally reading out like, oh, I've got this in front of me,
Wait, yeah, yeah. Usually I just get excerpts of like what I but never the whole lyrics.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so there's this part where he sings and then he waits for this moment which is like,
Mm.
um, I mean, it's right when the song starts, right when you
Yeah.
are in this silence when you fought with your lover, and
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
sort of push into the song, and then there's more realizations, and something like I still love you more than anyone else could. It starts off with
Please don't let this turn into something
because
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the exact thing you say when
Yeah.
you're like fighting with someone or arguing with your lover, and just
Yeah.
okay, stop, like just let's not
Yeah.
let this
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, no, no, exactly.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Almost there's like a moment of that breakup, but you're trying to
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean, hang on, like let's
divert the
not go
route.
on that
Yeah.
road. Like let's just
Like,
take a
let's not go there.
detour
Yeah,
over
yeah,
here, something like
yeah,
that. And
yeah.
then it just
100%.
it's just
Yeah.
like we within the lyrics we then come in the now, like
Yeah.
in terms of time, like we come in the now, and
Yeah.
he's thinking about the whole flight, thinking about this the whole flight, and
Yeah.
that it could take
Yeah.
his whole damn life to make this right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes,
that
it could take
that just
my
kind of
whole damn life
gave
to
me a good.
make this right.
I mean, it was interestingly put that you first.
Yeah.
So basically, the beginning of the song is what's going on in his head, and then it goes on to what's
Mm-hmm.
what
Actually,
that he's
yeah.
actually in the flight and he's thinking that
Yeah.
okay, this is much bigger than it is because it's going to take me a
Yeah.
long time to fix this. So something like
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, I think yeah, you covered it quite well, I think, thematically and lyrically. The one thing I'd say is again, from a musical standpoint, more variety from Snow Patrol and this almost like to me sounds like almost like something like an adult Adele song in terms of like how raw it is. And the way it's put together, right? But yeah, you're starting to see a lot of variety in this album
the
as we're going
the
forward.
that harmony chorus that there is, and you
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah,
also you
yeah,
also kind of uh, said it the way it is, and that's the harmony,
yeah.
the way of all other things um, make this last for this moment. I don't remember,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, yeah, it's
but
something
talking
along those
about talking
lines.
about make this
Yeah,
being an adult song by the lyrics. I mean, it's got.
yeah. Well, Adele is what I meant. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, you meant
yeah.
Adele, like
Adele, like
Adele.
an
I thought
Adele
adults.
song, right? No,
But
no.
I mean, talking about an adult song, it's got lines which I've
Yeah.
written. I mean, which have got the note that's cool poetry. So the lines are
Yeah, yeah,
splintered mast I'm holding on won't save me long because I know fine
yeah.
well that what I did was wrong. I mean, that's like
Mm-hmm.
that's
The splintered mast
that's just
I'm
fact fitting
holding
into
on won't save me.
this this kind of cool poetic vibe to it with the
Yeah,
relation to
yeah.
splintered masts and won't save me long. And I mean, it's well
Mm-hmm.
done is all I can say.
Yeah, yeah,
It just stood out.
yeah,
These two lines stood out to me.
yeah.
So, and what's so different this time that you can't ignore more than the last
Mm-hmm.
mistake? And we
Yeah,
spent so much time apart for both our sakes. It's got these
yeah,
stories in these sections of
yeah,
lines in it, which
yeah,
just make it more interesting, more um,
yeah,
like it's you probably connect more and kind of also brings you to scenes of a movie,
yeah,
like where he's just trying to fix this with the other person. That's what the song is
yeah,
about. Like he's trying to fix it with the person over and over and over. Because again, it started
yeah,
off with the
yeah,
thought that it's going to take him his whole
yeah,
damn life to fix this.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, he's just doing that over and over. Yeah. So anyway, we after make this go on forever, we go on to set fire to the third bar, which features Martha Wainwright.
After I've traveled so
Martha, Martha,
Martha.
Martha.
the fire to
I
the
mean,
third
Why did you say
that's exactly what I thought when I was making these notes. Like when I was writing, like featuring Martha, I was like
Yeah,
Martha
it's literally, it's got right X-ray. It could have just
Wayne,
been
right?
Martha Wayne, right? Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, without getting into
Yeah.
the other fandom. The the at a point the song calls out to this supernatural being, to pick me up and lay me down in your warm arms.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I again talking about being imaginative in the songs. That's
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
imagination that they're talking about. And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it is very beautifully written, I think, this song as well. And like this duet sort of their voices complement each other really well.
why do you think this song was a duet?
Well, it's two people singing, right? That's the definition of a duet, right?
Yeah, but
Oh, you mean why
why
is
is
this a
this
song a
song
duet?
a duet?
Yeah, I mean, I think from I don't know from a thematic concept, you might have more insight there. But I think to me, at least, if anything, it just shows even more musical variety. Because I know one thing that to me overall in this album, I really feel like, and I'm not very familiar with the previous album either, but it feels like Snow Patrol. They're really trying to like push the limits of what they've done before or what they can do, and I think to me this again, if you think about it, we've come so far from that 2000s sounding vibe of the first track to this track, right? So they start off with something familiar, that that 2000s vibe of that simple catchy tune, and you end up, and you not end up, you've still got songs to go, but you somewhere where at this point it's just adding more variety, musical variety, I think, and just showcasing a different type of song that they're doing. Yeah.
Mhm. True. I mean,
Right.
for this song is completely different from, I think, all other songs. And as you're right, it's a it's a long way we've come from the 2000s sounding
Yeah.
"You're All I Have"
Yeah, like
and
if you
more.
listen to the first track and you listen to this track, you'll feel like that track came out in the 2000s, and maybe this and the last two tracks came out in the past few years or something, right? It's almost like in terms of the musical
True,
difference of
true.
like the tone of the songs and how it's put together.
Yeah, the production really has a different feeling to it, like
Yeah.
this song itself. And uh,
Mm.
this was the first time I heard this song actually, while listening to this album,
Ah, okay.
and
Yeah.
it just at first I felt odd with Gary's voice and Martha's voice together,
Mm.
but then by the end of the song, of the first or second listen, by the end of the song, I was kind of flown into it, and it it just it's soft and fiery, if that makes sense.
Elaborate, please elaborate.
um, it's got the music starts off with like this kind of
Yeah.
very light flame, which is the light sounding voices, and
Mm-hmm.
then it
Mm-hmm.
builds up to this big fire, which is both of them singing together. First it's
Yeah.
like first
Yeah.
it's I think just Martha and then Gary, and then Martha, Gary, and then
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
both of
Yeah.
them, and then so it's like fire catching
Together.
on
Yeah.
together, and then um
Yeah.
it's yeah, I mean it was a completely different song, for even the songs to follow. It's a different
Mm-hmm.
song,
Mm. Yeah.
besides the fact that it's featuring someone.
Yeah.
It's differently produced music.
Yeah. 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 Almost feels like it belongs on a different
Yeah,
album, but then thematically it still fits in.
true. So then we've got Headlights on Dark Roads, which is I mean, the song uses an interesting metaphor for cars as for self,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or for self in for cars, or however. Like,
Yeah.
that he's putting himself or he's thinking himself in terms of cars, because in general, people think of more natural states of being. Like, there's a storm inside me,
You should edit a video together from the movie Cars with this playing in the background.
maybe
Yeah.
with some of their night
Then it'll be a
scenes.
perfect analogy, right? Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a good metaphor, and it's I
I think any metaphor is only as good as like how well you can make it work, because you can take a perfectly good metaphor and just absolutely ruin it. Or you can take something that doesn't feel like a metaphor, you can call it an analogy, um, but then you can make it work really well.
yeah,
So, and I think that's what they do here, right?
yeah, and I mean, uh, then relating the car crash to their relationship, and
Yeah.
more things such as those. It's
Yeah.
very interestingly put, because that's what I've
Yeah.
that you can hear Jason Mraz singing "Life in a Tree," or
Yeah.
something to do with natural beauty or
Yeah.
something like that, or
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
general,
Yeah.
like people relate to natural beauty or natural calamities, that
Yeah.
there's a storm building up inside me.
Yeah.
But this is like a completely different, maybe.
Just taking it to be,
Yeah, because
yeah.
even
It's like he wrote this while driving a car. Yeah.
Lifehouse is broken is, I
Yeah.
mean, the
Yeah.
video is all, the event is all about cars,
Yeah. Yeah.
car crash,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
actually doesn't speak of cars. But
No, the song itself is not, but
here
this is,
itself,
yeah.
he's like, this is the fact. I mean,
Yeah.
that headlights
Mm-hmm.
are what are blinding me, and
Yeah.
that's your eyes. So that way, it
Yeah.
just kind of, it
Yeah.
works very interestingly well. And I mean, it's a completely different,
Yeah.
more man-made side of things, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, perfectly. Yeah. And I think, again, it goes back to, well, firstly, I think musically, this one has, I feel more of like almost like a grunge feel, because it's got that like strong bass line,
Hmm.
right from the beginning. That sort of, again, musically, it sounds a bit different, tonally. But yeah, I guess, the song itself it feels like just sort of wanting to like break out of your shell, or, like you're tired of like being careful, or you're tired of the way you were doing things, and you kind of just want to now just take the leap and just do what you want to do almost.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's an interesting track.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the next track, which is "Open Your Eyes," which is like,
All this feels
uh,
strange and untrue.
it's the lover kind of, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
closing down all options for whoever, his or
Mm-hmm.
in for him or her. But it's just like he's closing down, like, the world's cruel, but I love you so much.
Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
what "Open Your Eyes" kind of tries to say, that, open your eyes. This is what I'm doing for you, and this is what's gonna happen if you go out there. So, like, kind of be careful, but
Mm-hmm.
I can take care of you because I love you, and things like that. It did, this song kind of reminded me of "Wild World," which is
Wait, which song are we talking about? Open Your Eyes now?
Open Your Eyes, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Just confirming.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me of, like, Cat Stevens. What's the song? "Wild World."
I've heard that. Oh yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
So I mean, because even in that song, it's
Interesting.
the
Yeah.
lover expressing that, it's a wild world
Yeah.
out there, so just be careful. Kind of expressing their
Yeah.
love,
Well,
and
to me, yeah. Well, I had a kind of different interpretation of "Open Your Eyes" in the sense of like, I think firstly musically, I think I feel similar to Chasing Cars in the sense like there's a lot of build up in the music, like it's doing that constant build up. But in terms of the actual song, the way I had like two different interpretations. One was like the other person's sick, so you're waiting for them to like open their
Hmm.
eyes. And the other one, I kind of felt like it's almost like the girl doesn't see him, like like he goes unnoticed, like he's trying to talk to her or make an impression, but like she's surrounded by other people, and he can't, so he's almost like open your eyes, he's like get up, get out, get away from these liars, because they don't get your
Oh,
soul
you're
or your
fired. Yeah.
fire. So it's like she's like she's hanging out with the crowd and like maybe almost like that high school setup,
Yeah.
right? And so it just feels like I think to me like both the analogies work hand in hand, because then there's also we'll walk from this dark room for the last time, so it sort of feels like again maybe that hospital scenario, of yeah, I guess there's different ways to look at it, but I think on the surface to me it feels like either it's almost like if I had to imagine a music video it'd be like the other person is sick, or it's like to do with the other person not noticing him, not. And I suppose another way you could see it is like the one person is sort of holding back the relationship.
Hmm.
I think there is a bit of that as well. But it is one of those songs which I feel like it's open to the different interpretations.
Yes, I have these two lines, which is not from the song,
Yeah.
but like what I thought of it. It's while being a request, it's something of a hopeful
Mm.
rhetoric with "Tell me that you'll open your eyes." Him saying like
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me that you'll open your
Yeah. Yeah.
eyes.
similar to the sweet lines a character says to one who they
Mm.
you know it's who they're going to who they care for, and they're going to tell them like it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
something along those lines. But it's like,
Mm-hmm.
didn't you understand the context for a moment, like his strange feelings and untrue, and I won't waste a minute without you.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's this again. I mean, all of these songs, in at some point or the other, they had this realization factor to them,
Yeah.
that Gary Lightbody, the singer, is kind of
Yeah.
realizing this fact, and he's just saying it out.
Mm.
And all of these have this story format in them,
Yeah.
which is quite cool. I mean, the way that it's currently happening. Like it just happened. It happened a few
Mm-hmm.
days ago. Or I'm still in the process of it. For example, um, in the
Mm-hmm.
um, in the one where he's in the flight,
Yeah.
right? Shut your eyes, is it?
Yeah, yeah, the one where
Oh,
he realized,
make
well,
this
the
go
one where
on
it starts
forever.
off, yeah, make this go on forever.
Things like
Yeah,
that. Like those are current relationship problems occurring, which he's trying to
yeah,
get over. Which so that in a
yeah.
story format, I think that's quite
Mm.
cool. So what do you think about Open Your Eyes?
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, pretty much summed it up pretty well, I think in terms of, like I was saying, with the lyrics, you've got the different sort of, for me, that sick, being that sick interpretation and all of that. Um, but yeah, I think interesting track. Musically similar to Chasing Cars, I'd say.
Yeah. Uh, um, I mean, and
Yeah, I mean
as I think of
specifically,
it.
it's like it's got that crescendo thing. It's like the same style of like just
Hmm.
that crescendo of like build up and build up,
Hmm.
um, which I think is to me feels similar to like that Chasing Cars. The way they in that track as well, you got like the whole song just kind of feels like build up and build up,
Yeah.
right?
That's
And
a
also then also you got the direct connection to I guess the title of the album, Eyes Open,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, this is the second last song, and over there
Yeah.
there was a second song which was Hands
Yeah.
Open, and now there's.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't know if
Eyes
there's
open. Yeah.
if there was a relation or
That's on
not, but
purpose.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's something I noticed.
Interesting connection. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so then we can go to the last song, which is The Finish Line, which is the finish line.
Mhm.
And um,
Very appropriate title for the last track.
the finish line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Firstly, this is probably like
Yeah.
a kind of a seasonal favorite for me right now. It's got that,
Yeah.
ambient
Earth
kind of
is warm
Yeah.
feeling to
next
it
to
in the
my
beginning,
Music.
and
Yeah.
it's kind of consuming. Like the music is sort of
It is,
consuming.
again, it does stand apart from the rest of the tracks because this is much more atmospheric and much more like, compared to the other tracks on the album. And again, comparing to what the first two tracks are like, this is so different.
I mean, it's it's um, it's actually it's quite experimental. The finish line, because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's got
Yeah.
these. I mean, I was so when you're listening to like a rhythm of, or a flow of things, you're
Yeah.
just flowing into it, but then you find yourself flowing into another, and then you find yourself flowing into another.
Yeah.
So that's that.
It almost feels like it's like an outro for the album, like it's like a set piece at the end for the whole album.
Yeah,
Like how
because it's
how
really
some of the songs
short,
have like
right?
an outro, which is a bit
Finish
different.
line's quite short.
I think it's 3 minutes or something. I don't think it's too short. But it's definitely it feels like a uh, sort of a
Conclusion.
set piece, just like an outro.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
But I love this. It's got this line, the skies are dark. They're dark, but they're clear. So it's got this like message, like it's things are bad, which is sort of what a lot of the songs in the album are about, right? The difficulty,
Hmm.
the challenges. But then there's also like at least you've got the relationship, or at least you're in that position almost in a way to appreciate.
The,
So it's like the skies are dark. They're dark, but they're clear, and it's like,
that's what
yeah,
I've
it's always,
written. So the song is like,
yeah.
counting the nuances, and and
Mm,
it's again like imaginative in its way, and it's
yeah.
hopeful because
Yeah.
that's what they're trying to show you a light in the dark sky, or beyond the dark
Yeah.
sky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, that covers all our tracks.
Perfect. Yeah.
And yeah, I think the so I've this is a good line. So the album for me follows a theme of disillusionment and various types of
Yeah.
hurdles that relationships face, and all in like a
Yeah.
certain set perspective.
Hmm.
So it's like,
Yeah.
stuff like we need to be breathless with love and not collapsed under its weight. This
Hmm.
is part of the finish line. It's like,
Hmm.
it's a cool way to express both love and evil, like
Yeah.
being evil while separating the two as well. And it reminded
Interesting.
me of
Yeah.
Eminem's Space Pound immediately when it spoke of love and evil, and like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's spell it backwards and it was evil, evil
Yeah.
e. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and it's got a interesting end with the bridge to leave. Like, I mean, the bridge leaves us on like this elevated note, the finish line.
Hmm.
So that was an interesting end for the album,
Yeah.
at least for me. Yeah.
Overall, yeah, I think it's very much. I think they start off like to me. It's been a journey listening to the songs from beginning to the end, because I went in with the expectation it's going to be more or less like the first couple of songs, and I think they start off with a familiar sound, and then they kind of like take you all across, and they end with something which is again very different to like what I was expecting from the album. But musically, it's quite a journey, like going through the different tracks and different sort of musical variety you get, while still being the same theme. I wasn't expecting. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting, but I'd heard, like I said, I'd heard a couple of the
Yeah.
songs, but I think just going through it track by track, it sort of just felt like a bit of a journey, different styles of music
Yeah.
put together.
And while different styles of music put together while being on the same theme, it's not it's not
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that's going to, that's set in the future. It's not
yeah,
love that was. It's not love that is. It's stuff that's going on, you know, like
yeah.
fights, the negative times of a
Yeah.
relationship. That's what's going on. And
Yep.
that's again, it, as I said, it follows a theme of disillusionment. So
Yeah.
because he has this imaginative thoughts, and there's this um one of the tracks where I mentioned that, that it's it's this imagination that he's talking about, but he doesn't know her at all, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So something like that, like he's just not able to put things together, but he's trying to. Like the whole album kind of
Oh,
tries
it's
to.
beginning to get to me, right?
It's
Yeah.
beginning to get to
Yeah.
me. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that
That's the one.
it's beginning to get to me kind of makes sense for the whole album as well, because
Yeah.
I mean, every song is kind of just like it's beginning to get to me. It's now it's beginning to get
Yeah.
to me. So
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Like that is sort of
Yeah,
what all of the songs are about. Yeah. But no, I think it's an excellent album. It really showcases the different sort of musical styles
true.
they can do, and they've done them all really well. It's not like, half-assed in any way. They've really like knocked it out of the park with each track, I think,
Yeah,
musically.
true. So yeah,
Yeah.
I guess. Do you think that covers the album?
Yeah, eyes open. I think they opened our eyes to Snow Patrol and what Snow Patrol can do.
Yeah.
I am interested actually of going back and listening to some of their previous music to see whether that also had this much variety, because I just didn't
Yogurt
expect
versus
it.
yogurt debate.
I
Yogurt versus.
sorry. Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
What a name is
that sounds
that?
just super abstract. Yeah. So it's yeah, I want to go through and see what type of music that, the different styles they've had, and I think it'll put this album more in context as well. But just hearing this album, yeah, it's there's a lot happening, and like we said, the music you start with, that 2000s vibe, you travel quite far from there.
True.
So yeah,
Yeah. So that covers Eyes Open by Snow Patrol, and we'll see you next time with the next trio. Cheers.
yeah.